Hi, my name's Marilyn Missandry, and this is Kripple Kween, my vlog all about drag and disability. Welcome to the second episode. So in the first episode of Kripple Kween, we talked about all the ways that you can make your drag shows a bit more physically accessible. And it was really good. We had a great response, and I think lots of people have said to me they learnt something from it, and it was really useful. So thank you so much to everyone who watched that, to everyone who shared that, to everyone who just found that useful. Hopefully that can continue. Now in today's video, it's kind of going to be a follow-up to that, but in this one we're going to talk a bit more about stuff like language, and how language can impact on how accessible your drag events can be. Now before I continue, there is something I want to bring up. It's been brought to my attention by a couple of people that they were quite offended and quite surprised by the fact that I used the term cripple. Now, I want to clarify that word because I know it's very controversial. I use cripple to describe myself. Now, I use cripple as a reclaimed slur. What that means is, it's a word that's been used to attack me and insult me most of my life. And eventually, I decided, do you know what? I am a cripple, and that's fine. I'm great. I'm a great cripple. I'm fantastic. I'm cool. I'm fun. Not bad looking. And I'm really fun. Ace. So I'm going to take that word. And yeah, that's going to be my word that I'm having back. Now, with that, I do want to say I would never in my life ever think that anyone else should reclaim that word if they don't want to. It's a difficult word, and I'd never ever say that anyone should ever have to reclaim that word if they don't want to. Similarly, I would never ever call anyone that word out of hate, out of anger, or for any reason really, unless I knew they were explicitly okay with it. Because it's a really difficult word, and the thing with slurs is you can only reclaim them if they're being used at you. So hopefully that clears up a little bit about why I use the word cripple, and why my channel's called Kripple Kween. So let's carry on with the rest of the video. Like I said, I want to talk briefly today just about how sometimes language can make events inaccessible. Now, when we talk about language, I think a lot of people shut off because they think, oh God, it's going to be some really complicated medical conversation. And, I mean, look at me. Do I look like I'm having any complicated medical conversations? I'm a clown, for God's sake. It's not about that. What this is just about is a few things that I've noticed going to drag shows, being in drag shows, hosting drag shows, and loving drag shows, about the way that we talk and the language that we use in them that can sometimes make them really difficult and inaccessible. So here's the first one, and it might surprise you. It's all about gendering language. Because when we talk about accessible events, it's not just always about disability. Yes, it is a lot of the time, and that's what this channel is mostly about. But it's also really important to make sure that your event's accessible for people who might be transgender, or gender non-conforming, or people who just don't like using gendered language. Now, it's a really small thing, but consider this. How often have you seen a show introduced as ladies and gentlemen? What if you're not? What if you're both? What if you're neither? Or what if, like me, you don't like those words and you don't really associate with them? It can be quite off-putting if that's the introduction to the show, especially if you're in the cast and you have to go on thinking everyone thinks you're a lady or gentleman. Consider this. Why don't we use more neutral language? I saw a great example. Theydies and gentle thems. Stuff like that is really simple. And it's a really easy way to, first of all, be a bit more creative, be a bit more fun, and make sure that if you've got people in the audience who don't identify with binary gendered language, that they're included too. Now, the next point I want to make is about some of the humour that we can use in drag, and it's something that I've noticed quite often. When we make jokes, it's always really important to bear in mind who those jokes are actually attacking. Now, when someone gets on stage and starts making jokes about people being stupid, or idiots, or thick, or all sorts of other quite hateful words, quite often they'll think, it's fine, I'm talking about Donald Trump, or Boris Johnson, or whoever. But what they don't realise is, when you use language that attacks people's intelligence like that, you're actually reinforcing a lot of ableism. Let's put it this way. Who's more likely to hear your jokes about how Boris Johnson's thick and how thick people are awful? Or how people who are stupid are awful? Is Boris Johnson going to hear that joke? Probably not. Is the person who's grown up being told that they're thick and stupid by people who wanted to hurt them going to hear that joke? They might do. They're more likely to. It's about punching up, not punching down. And it's just about thinking about how your humour can impact on things and how it can land. And often, I think it pushes you to be a lot more creative if you're not having to rely on jokes about people's intelligence, you know. There's lots of other things to make jokes about there. Similarly, when we make jokes about people's physical appearances, are we actually making jokes that are punching up and not down? No, we're making jokes that affect people who have those kinds of bodies. You know, for example, when Donald Trump is shown wearing a nappy as a baby, what you're then saying is you're saying that there's something inherently humiliating about having to wear a diaper or a nappy or being incontinent. And again, who's that really going to affect? Is it going to affect Donald Trump? Look, if you're running a drag show where Donald Trump is coming and getting upset about the jokes, invite me. I'll have a great time. But a lot of the time, those kinds of jokes actually are going to affect people in your audience. You don't know who in your audience is incontinent. You don't know who has to wear adult nappies or adult pads. And at the end of the day, it's just all about making sure that your humour isn't really targeting people who are already being targeted quite often. Now, the last point I'm going to make in this is about mental health. Now, I know what you're thinking, Marilyn. We're all very clued up on mental health. We've all got those profile pictures with Be Nice and stuff. But let's think about it this way. How many times have you been to a drag show and the drag queen has come on talking about how she's some psycho bitch or insane crazy girl? I have far too many times to count. So for a start, it's quite basic. It's been done. But also, that kind of language and those kind of choices, they really stigmatise people who have real issues with mental health. And, you know, again, your audience will be affected by that kind of thing. So those are some more things to think about, and I promise the next video we do is probably going to be a bit more cheerful, a bit more fun. If you have any ideas for videos you'd like to see from me, sound off in the comments below. As always, I've been Marilyn Missandry. This has been Kripple Kween. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, share it, show it to your nan, shout off the roof about it, hire a plane with a banner on telling people to watch it, anything. But as always, have a great day, and I hope you've enjoyed yourselves.